Alright, so there's a thickness planer. I got a Canadian Tire, Mastercraft, 12-inch portable planer. We have some chain drives right here, and what that does, this is the output of the motor. Right now I can get access to these drive rollers that feed the stock under the cutter blades, and I'll be able to get at, especially this end, I'll be able to get at this gearing in here. And I thought I had bad bearings. It does sound a little, but I don't know whether that's bearing noise or gear noise. So now what we're trying to do is put our knife blades back in. So the way we do that is we adjust this head roller, and then if you can see right down in there, there's a little tiny spring and another little tiny spring on this side, and of course they're used to keep pressure on the blade so you can assist in aligning it. So then the next part that goes in is the, I don't know what you'd call this part. There's probably a technical name for it, but I'm going to call it the clamp bar. So that goes right in. If I get it situated in there correctly, it should go in there like about like that. So here's my blade. Now, the original cutting edge, let me just stand this up here so you can see it. The original cutting edge was this edge, and I don't know how well you can see that in the video here, but she's in bad shape. But luckily for me, they're double-edged knives, so I'm going to use the new edge right here. And because this head roller rotates towards me, I don't know whether that's clockwise or counterclockwise, depending on what end you're looking at, we want the profile of the knife right there to be aimed in that direction. So we're going to set that knife right down in there. And you can feel it. Be careful of those sharp edges, but you can feel it on the springs. So then we have this handy dandy little gizmo thingy right here, and this is called the depth gauge for setting your depth of the knives, or height gauge, I guess maybe would be a better name for it. Anyway, that goes right on top of the roller, something like that. And the beauty of this thing is, whoa, we'll look at you in the frame. The beauty of this thing is, you just set it up and you push down on it, and because the blades are mounted on springs, when you push that down, that sets the height of the blade, of the cutting edge. So it doesn't move much, but it moves down somewhat. So what I'm going to do is, it takes two hands to do this, so I have to there's 7 adjusting screws, or clamping screws, on that clamping bar. You can see them right down in there, and right there, and there and there. So I'm going to snug those up just to hold everything in place. Then I'm going to put the gauge on, and then I'll snug them down some more. So I'll try to set the camera up so you can watch that. I don't know how exciting it'll be, but we'll have a look. And I'm not an expert at this, so I'm just going to put the gauge somewhere in the middle of the roller, push it down, and I'm not sure if you can see that, but the blade is actually being depressed as I push down on it. And the beauty of this gauge, if you can see that, it has kind of an arc right here, and then this part of the arc rests on this, on the planer head, and then the blade touches on the inside of the arc. So you know, it makes it pretty near fail-safe to do this, or idiot-proof. Alright, so I'm going to just snug a couple of these up to hold that. So tighten one of these clamping screws on each side, just enough to hold it. Okay, so there we have it. So now what I like to do is just see if I can see with my old eyes when I just have a look there, I can see that when these legs of the gauge are on the planer head, the knife is just touching in here. So when that edge and this edge are on the planer head, then the planer blade just touches on that little arc in there. And it's doing that on both sides, so it looks pretty good. So I'm going to tighten the rest of these up, and I'll check it again just before I do a final snugging. Okay, so they're all kind of snug, so I'm going to put my gauge back on. And I'll tell you, I'm struggling with it, but it's hard to see it. But that's because I'm half blind too. That doesn't help. But that looks pretty good. So I'll snug that one, and that one, and then that one, and that one, and that one, and that one, and that one. And I have my blade in the right direction. Just good to check that. Oh, pretty good. Nice. Now I'm guessing that they're tight enough to hold those blades in there. Okay. I'm just checking the clearance and seeing that if they kind of look half parallel. But I'd say that's it. My blades are installed. The main reason I was doing this is because I'm going to try to plane some hemlock. So I'm going to get a little piece of hemlock. And the hemlock that I'm going to plane, it's rough sawn hemlock. So here's a piece that's 2 inches, just a little strong of 2 inches. So I'm going to set my gauge up for 2 inches and try to plane this and see what happens. Okay, here we go. We'll see what happens. So that's a fine job it does. That's working better now than I think when it was brand new. And it's cutting it good and parallel. Well folks, that's it. Maintenance complete on the Mastercraft 12-inch thickness planer. Problems I had with this planer was the blades were in bad shape. I knew that. I knew that before I even hauled her out of the bench. And it was making some noises, and I thought maybe it had bad bearings. Well, it turns out the planer is 10 years old, and kind of embarrassing to say, but this is the first time I ever changed the blades on it. And lucky for me, the blades are double-sided, and I could just flip the blades over. And as you saw from the video, it wasn't a big deal to set those blades up. I thought it was going to be tedious, you know, measuring here and there, but it was pretty simple, really. So that went well. As far as the noise coming from it, that was just poor lubrication. The grease and whatnot on the gear train was all dried up, so it wasn't lubricating very well, and there was virtually no oil on the drive chains on the other end of it over here. So we put some lubrication on it, made a big difference. Put her all back together, cleaned her all up good, ran some wood through it, and as you can see, it planes really, really nice from this piece of hemlock. So, glad to get this maintenance done. Now we can put this tool back into production, because I have a job coming up where I'm going to need to do some thickness planing. Alright, I hope you liked the video. If you saw anything in this video that can help you in the shop, boys oh boys, that'd make my day. And if you like it, click like please. And I love to get comments, so throw some comments in there too. It only takes a second just to say, boys oh boys, how's you going? You know, something like that. Whatever you want. But that's it, boys. Hope you enjoyed it.